What's up, everybody? My name is Juan Paolini with NGPC, and I just want to let you know a quick change that we're going to do. Instead of the podcast being based on the news, now the podcast is going to center around a specific topic. That way we can kind of really go in depth into that topic, and that way the podcast can also be a little bit more timeless. It doesn't really have to be tied into the news. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to post a weekly video gathering up the most important news or the most relevant to myself, where I'm going to just be discussing them, and it's going to be like a little mini news podcast, of course with no co-hosts, at least for now, and I hope you enjoyed. So let's get started. So the first item on our list is that Ghostwire Tokyo, the PS5/PC exclusive, is delayed to 2022, early 2022, according to this image that Tango Gameworks Twitter account just posted. We've made the decision to delay the launch of Ghostwire Tokyo to early 2022. We want to get the game in your hands as soon as possible so you can experience the unforgettable version of Haunted Tokyo that we've been hard at work building. At the same time, we're also focused on protecting the health of everyone at Tango. Our new release window will give us time to bring the world of Ghostwire to life as we've always envisioned it. Thank you for being patient as we work to bring you an experience unlike anything else we've ever made. We can't wait to show you more in the coming months. Every time a game gets delayed, it's always a little bit disappointing because, of course, as gamers, we always want to have these interactive experiences in our hands to play them, discuss them, make videos about them, whatever it is we want to do. But we also saw what happened to Cyberpunk 2077, where the game cooked for some years. It was then revealed that it had not been cooking from as long as we thought. So that's a little bit unclear, but the thing I think we can all agree on is that it needed more time. I am not going to touch that game until it gets the next gen release on PS5 or Series X. I think I'm leaning for Series X, but that's beside the point. There's also this quote from Shigeru Miyamoto, which I think is key, and it's like a pool of wisdom that we could all pull from, which is a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. I think that's hard to argue with. I totally agree with that quote. So if Tango Gameworks, if Shinji Mikami's team needs more time to cook this and make it a great game, I would entirely support that. I recently played The Evil Within 2, and I was very surprised by the story. I got hooked on it a lot. I think I preferred over the first one. And Shinji Mikami is the creator of the Resident Evil series, which is one of my favorite ones. So yeah, this is a very important studio, very important personality in game development, and of course a very important title. Now, as to the title itself, we already know that it's going to be a PS5 exclusive. It's not going to come to other consoles yet, including PS4. It is going to come to PC at launch, but on the console side, it's going to be a PS5 only title. Both for Xbox and Sony fans, this is going to be a little disappointing for a couple of different reasons. One of those, let's focus on the Sony side first. We already know that the next exclusives are also going to come to PS4, which, I mean, I of course support that more people can play. I never think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that the potential of these games could be a little bit compromised because we have to acquiesce to these previous generation consoles, and that is a little bit disappointing. And this is yet another exclusive that's being delayed. So it's another reason less to get a PS5, if that makes sense. At least at the moment. Of course, we know it's pretty hard to find with the supply constraints and everything, but it's like another item off the list of the reasons why you should be happy to have one. So that's a little bit disappointing on that side. But in the end, I still stick to my initial point, which is take as long as you need. And then for Xbox fans, I think it's a little bit worse, of course, because we know that Microsoft bought Bethesda. Tango Gameworks is a Bethesda studio, so it technically belongs to Microsoft. However, they had this contract where the game was going to be a timed exclusive for Sony, for PS5, and they're still going to honor that, which I think is kind of an obligation, not really a courtesy. But the game being delayed means that the eventual launch, probably on Game Pass, is also going to be delayed. So initially we would have maybe gotten this game for free on Game Pass on mid-2022 or perhaps mid to end of the 2022. Now we're going to get it probably 2023 or early 2023 because we know that it's probably going to be a year of timed exclusivity, We don't really have those details confirmed, but it's probably gonna be that. So yeah, that is disappointing, but I would rather be disappointed now that it's being delayed, which is a minor disappointment, than having a disappointing game. So let's move on to the next item on our list, which is the Judgment series future is uncertain. The game Lost Judgment is slated to release on September 24th, 2021, and it may be the last of the series. Japanese site Nikan Taishu claims to have sources that state that the actor Takuya Kimura's agency, named Johnny Associates, is reportedly having issues with publisher Sega, who wants to make the Judgment games available on Steam. Having the game in an open platform with access to the internet apparently goes against the agency's business model, since they have very strict control of their talent. Without having the ability to bring it to PC, it would not really make the game viable business-wise for Sega. Meanwhile, all the latest versions of the Yakuza games, including Yakuza 0, Kiwami 1, and Kiwami 2, the remastered versions, Yakuza 6 Song of Life, they're all on Steam. If this is true, it is very disappointing, because the Yakuza series, of course Judgment is a spin-off of this series, is a very beloved one. I have recently started playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I was very excited to play Judgment and Lost Judgment later this year. I actually had them on my list and I was pretty much looking forward to it. And it's one thing when a game gets cancelled because maybe they've reached as far as they can with the story, maybe some character dies off, maybe they lose the passion or whatever. I mean, a lot of things can happen where a game or any creative franchise or series gets cancelled, right? But for it to be cancelled because of a contractual technicality where two parties can't really find a common ground, it's kind of a little bit more frustrating, because it's not the developer's fault, it's not even the actor's fault. It's just a company that has restrictions and another company that doesn't agree with that, and it just, I mean, I don't know, I find this really, really disappointing. Of course, as I said, we haven't gotten confirmation that this is actually cancelled or that there is no future for Judgment. I hope that I'm totally wrong. I hope that these reports are wrong or misinformed or whatever, because I would really love to see more from this, even though I haven't played it. I mean, I've just seen reviews, trailers and stuff, and I was really pulled in. I think that the thing that pulled me in even to the Yakuza series was the Lost Judgment trailer, because it was really interesting. I mean, it's like this detective game. It all takes place in the same city as Yakuza, in the Kamurocho district of Tokyo, although I do believe that that's a fictional. So, next on the list. Phil Spencer appears to be a big fan of the Dualsense. Recently, he made an appearance on the Kinda Funny Gamescast, which is a podcast by Kinda Funny Games. Phil Spencer was a guest on the Gamescast, and among all the things that they discussed, I think this is the quote that I thought was most interesting. We're definitely thinking about different kinds of devices that can bring more games to more places. There's probably some work that we'll do on the controller. I think Sony's done a nice job with their controller, and we kind of look at some of that and think that there are things that we should go do. But we're probably not in the more bespoke accessories place right now. We just look at what happens on Windows and other places and see if there's a unique opportunity for us. Right now, I don't think there's anything that obvious to me. So it's kind of obvious that there's kind of two conclusions that we can draw from this. One is that it's very likely that the Xbox controller is going to get a revision. I have one over here. Form factor wise, in my opinion, this is the better one, because offset sticks for most games, I found it a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more, what's the word? Ergonomically. That's the word. Ergonomically, I think it's better. Of course, for fighting games, this D-pad, hear that clicking? I don't think it's really ideal, but I don't really play that much fighting games, so that's pretty much a very acceptable caveat for me. So yeah, if they do add some things like adaptive triggers, which I'm not really that crazy about, although I do think that Returnal implemented it really well, where one trigger kind of had two functions at the same time. I thought that was pretty neat. If they add things like haptics, which I think are awesome. Another thing that this controller has that the Dualsense doesn't have is the triggers vibrate. And I think that's kind of a very understated feature. I find it really cool. I mean, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but I do like it. I think it's pretty cool. If they do another iteration of this controller that has haptics, that keeps the vibrations on the triggers and then maybe has adaptive triggers, if they do that, that would make this controller pretty perfect in my opinion. But we will see. The other thing that Mr. Spencer mentioned is the fact that they are not looking to make more bespoke accessories, he said. I think that we can pretty much interpret this as him talking about maybe VR headsets or stuff like that, which we know that Sony is investing in. They already have the PSVR, and we know that we're getting in the next couple of years probably the PSVR 2. That's not a confirmed name, but it's the name that we're using over here to describe it. They revealed recently the controller, which looks pretty interesting, very similar to the controller for the Oculus Quest. I am pretty excited about PSVR 2. However, I'm not disappointed at all that Xbox isn't doing this. I think that their focus now is Game Pass, getting Game Pass everywhere, even TVs, if the reports are to be believed, which I think they are. I think it's very obvious that that's the next step. But I also believe that they shouldn't spread themselves too thin. You know, they should focus on the games, which, I mean, they have made a ton of investments. We are going to start seeing the fruits of those investments in the coming months and in the coming years. Focus on games first, and then when you have strong games, maybe then focus on the VR headset. So I think I totally agree with Phil with what Microsoft is supposedly doing. I'm excited about games. I'm excited about a controller refresh because I think haptics are awesome. I'm excited about PSVR 2, but I'm not unexcited about not having a X headset or XVR, whatever it would be called. So yeah, that's good news to me. Next item on the list, Blue Box Studios updates us on their trailer app. So a tweet from their official account says, "We have changed the app name from Real-Time Trailers to Real-Time Experience, so the app will be released as Real-Time Experience. What can you expect? Multiple trailers when they are available, with a duration between 5 to maximum of 12 minutes, gameplay demonstrations, and future live events." So for anyone who has been keeping up with this, Blue Box Game Studios is a pretty unknown studio up until a couple of months ago that hasn't really released a game of note yet. They were recently involved in this conspiracy theory where people are believing that this is actually not a real game and not a real studio, and it's maybe the cover-up for Hideo Kojima's next game, and that game could be Silent Hill or Silent Hills. That is yet to be seen. I think that there's a lot of suspicious things. I would want to believe that Hideo Kojima is working on a Silent Hill game, even though we know that he's already in talks with Xbox to do something there about apparently doing a cloud-based game. But of course, well, I mean, we know that sometimes studios or creatives work on multiple games. I do think it's a bit of a stretch because, I mean, working on two mainline games, especially one that is like a revival thing, because we know that Konami stopped doing games some years ago after the horrendous Metal Gear Survive. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how realistic it is for him to be working on these two things at once. I do believe that there's a lot of very suspicious things about the Blue Box thing, which I encourage you to go check the Reddit about the whole Blue Box conspiracy, because it's very interesting. I'm not necessarily declaring that it is true. I would hope for it to be true because I'm a Silent Hill fan, I'm a Kojima fan, and I would love to see more of that. And it is pretty suspicious. But the update is this. We know that we can preload the app from July 29th, and we will know more later. And then the last item on our list is going to be very surprising, and that is Valve unveils the Steam Deck. This is a device that is basically a portable gaming PC that you can take anywhere. You can play all of your Steam games in there, so every AAA game and indie game that you can find in Steam, you can play here. The pricing starts at $399 for a 64GB version, and then it goes up to $529 for a 256 NVMe SSD. The first one is not an SSD. That's important to note, since this is going to have better loading times. And then there's a $649 version that has a 512 gigabyte hard drive. The operating system is going to be SteamOS 3.0. You're going to be able to access the store, buy your games there, the games you've already bought or you're already going to be there, you're going to be able to download them. It's going to have a 7-inch display. The resolution is going to be 1200 by 800, so it's going to have, instead of a 16 by 9 aspect ratio, it's going to have a 16 by 10, which would make it a little bit taller. It has an expandable storage where you can insert micro SD cards. It has a battery of 40 WHR, which equates to 2 to 8 hours of gameplay. The reason why this is a little bit all over the place is because it depends on the game you're playing. If you're playing an indie pixel art game, it's probably going to last you a long time. And if you're playing, I don't know, Control or a AAA game, it's probably going to be less battery time, just like with the Switch. It has a ton of other features that you can go into the website and check it out. I mean, it even has a gyroscope, it has haptics. I'm not really sure if that kind of equates it to the haptics that we can find in the Dualsense. I'm guessing we will see. It also has 4 programmable buttons on the back, 2 analog sticks, just like the Switch does, and then it also has 2 trackpads if you prefer to game with like what would be similar to a mouse, although I think it's kind of weird because it's very little, so I would have to check it out and see it for myself to see if that is comfortable to use. The point is that this comes equipped with so many things, so many options for you to play. And then of course, not included in the price is a dock that you can actually get. Right now there's not much information. The only information is that it has a USB-C cable that goes to the Steam Deck. I'm guessing that this is to charge it and also to transfer the video signal. And then it has an output of a DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0. It has a power in that seems to be USB-C as well. It has 2 USB 2.0 where you can hook up peripherals and stuff like that. It has 1 USB 3.1, and then it oh my god. It also has an Ethernet port that you can use to, of course, connect it directly wired to your internet and not have to rely on Wi-Fi, which of course we know is more reliable to do wired. So, I mean, this is very, very interesting, not only because it's a new machine, which is always exciting to have, but also because I personally have been very, very disappointed with the Switch lately in terms of how many games are coming. I mean, I am excited about Metroid Dread. I am excited about The Legend of Zelda. But other than that, my Switch literally gathering dust over there, back in the back. Because, I mean, I used to play first-party games there, which, I mean, are still coming, but we don't really know much. And also to play indies, which now the Xbox has become my indie machine because of Game Pass. So, yeah, this is an even worse blow to the Switch. Pretty amazing that they managed to put this pricing on it. And when you compare it to things like the Switch OLED, which, again, why? $350 versus this, where you can spend $50 more and get a superior machine in every way. The only caveat I would put to this is the first party Nintendo games, which of course are really good, and you will not be able to have these here unless there's some way to hack this, but I mean, that's not really official. So, I don't know. But yeah, this is pretty exciting. I don't know if I will be getting one of these because, I mean, it's yet another piece of hardware. I mean, of course, I love it. I would love to see it, unbox it, use it, play it. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying that maybe there's going to be the possibility of not only it having SteamOS, but it also being able to have Windows on it. And if that's the case, you could play Steam games through the Windows, and you could also play Game Pass. So if this becomes the portable Game Pass machine, oh boy, I mean, the Switch is dead, at least to me. I'm not yet sure if I would buy it because I do already have a Switch. This kind of seems like unnecessary spending, although I mean, you could argue that any video game spending is unnecessary spending. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited. I don't know. If this is the way that I'm gonna have gaming on the go, where I don't really have to rely on internet because I'm gonna be able to download games potentially, if it's true that I can install Windows and use it as an Xbox Game Pass portable machine. Oh boy, I'm gonna have fun with this. So that's gonna be all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. We are gonna try to have this weekly so that I can keep up with the news, discuss it a little bit, at least the ones that I'm interested in, because of course I can't cover everything, but I will do my best. And so with that, I bid you farewell, my friends. See you in the next video.